Hey, this is Dave. I'm an aspiring Appalachian Trail Thru-Hiker and newbie carnivore. I had posted a video about the carnivore diet, and one of the comments came in was from Kevin Strauss. Kevin had a lot to say about how to fuel properly on the Appalachian Trail, so I decided that it is very important to get this guy here so that we can ask him a lot of questions about how to properly fuel for the Appalachian Trail, but mostly to kind of see where our energy sources derive from and how we best do that. So, Kevin Strauss is an emotional health and innovation consultant and CEO of Uchi LLC. He focuses on what drives behavior and is dedicated to making life easier and happier. Kevin's career began in biomedical engineering, and he has worked in human behavior for 2 decades. Kevin is a 25-year expedition backpacker, rock climber, award-winning ballroom dancer, and 22-year injury-free Ironman triathlete and coach. In this video, we will discuss 3 main topics when it comes to hiking the Appalachian Trail. 1, fueling your body and how macronutrients are converted into energy. 2, how anaerobic and aerobic metabolism works when doing endurance activities such as backpacking. And 3, how different types of diets affect metabolism during backpacking. So after all my long-winded approach at that, Kevin, welcome to my channel, and I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dave. I mean, I'm just so excited we connected through your carnivore diet video and your goal of doing carnivore while on the Appalachian Trail. And that super intrigued me because I've been playing around with the carnivore diet in the last couple of months. And like you said, I've been doing endurance activities for several decades, and I've learned a lot over the years. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've learned a lot. And I just want to try and fuel myself better and more efficiently so I can do the activities I want to do. And I found that, what I've learned really applies to human beings in general. And if I can help others be more successful, if I can help you with your AT journey, that's what I want to do. I just want to help people, live their best lives.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. So I'll call it cut to the chase, right? So the first thing that I would like to talk about, and you can kind of go off on this, is fueling your body and how macronutrients are converted into energy. As I had mentioned in our conversation back and forth on the comments, I've been an endurance athlete for many years and kind of snuck away from it and now coming back to it. And as a carnivore, it's like, okay, I need to understand, how this is all working and how am I able to hike, 10 plus hours a day doing what I'm doing. So I want to know from your perspective, like how macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbs are converted into energy.
Yeah, well, you said it right there. So there are 3 macronutrients, and this is, we all human beings, really mammals, but let's just say human beings, we need fuel, right, to live and to do the activities we want to do to function. So like you said, there's 3 macronutrients: proteins, carbs, and fats. That's it. Like, that's what we're working from. Okay. And each one of those, our goal is we need to use those macros to repair, to fuel, to energize our body. But basically, when it comes to activity, we're trying to make ATP. And I'm not going to get into like the hardcore, organic chemistry of it. But ATP is the energy block that we're really talking about, especially when we're exercising, right? So protein, carbs, and fats are your main macros. And when we break that down, each one has its own sort of purpose or how easy it is to convert it into usable energy. And by usable energy, I mean ATP molecules. Okay. So the easiest one is carbohydrates. And to even break carbohydrates down more specifically, there's simple carbs and complex carbs. Simple carbs are sugars, right? It's going to be like really sweet to taste. And complex carbs are more of your, we'll say starches, but it's your potatoes and whole grains, things like that. Your oatmeals, like your good oatmeals, and potatoes, rices,
like pastas. Yeah.
pastas. Exactly. Yep. Although even like white pasta ends up basically being a simple carb because it spikes your blood sugar and everything. But anyway, but it's not sugar, right? It's not your sugar like your table sugar, honey, molasses, syrup, any of those. Those are your sugars, right? And a sugar, specifically glucose, is used directly. I mean, glucose goes right into the mitochondria of your cell and instantly, like one reaction and you're getting ATP, okay? And that's the simplest conversion. So a complex carb, when that goes through your system, into your cells, it's about 3 chemical reactions to get the ATP molecule out of it. So that's a pretty quick conversion, right? So if you're exercising and you're hiking along and you can take some honey, right? You can eat some like a honey stick and get the quick glucose sugar. But if you eat, and it goes right to ATP, but if you eat a carbohydrate or a more complex carb like a maltodextrin, which is in a lot of energy bars and energy fuels, things like that, then it just takes a couple of extra reactions and you'll get your ATP. So it's pretty quick. Okay, the next macro that more easily converts to energy and ATP is fats. Okay.
Yep.
And for fats, it takes something like 6 chemical reactions to convert a fat into usable energy, ATP. And then the last one is protein. And for a protein to convert into usable energy like ATP, it takes something like 9 or 11 chemical reactions. And those reactions require a lot of hydrogen atoms. And we typically get those hydrogen atoms from water. So when you're trying to convert protein into usable energy, you need even more water. Okay, so that's the very basic of converting the fuel that we eat into usable energy. Okay.
Yep.
Now, just to break things down about like caloric intake, because through hikers and we're always we need our calories, right? And I think it's just very important for people to understand that any carbohydrate has only 4 calories per gram.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if it's table sugar or if it's a potato. It's 4 calories per gram. Protein doesn't matter if it's a steak or if it's fish or if it's whey protein. Doesn't matter. It's 4 calories per gram. That's the same number of calories as a carbohydrate. Whereas a fat has 9 calories per gram. So for bang for your buck, fats are where you really want to focus if you want calories. Not to mention, fats are far more satiating than protein. So it's just really important to understand that if you want calories, fat is where you really want to go. If you're starving, like on these, survival shows and like Alone and Naked and Afraid and all that stuff, everybody gets so like hyped. I got to get my protein. I got to get my protein. No, it's not the protein that you need. First of all, you're in a starving situation, so you need any kind of food, any food you need. And fat is going to be the biggest bang for your buck because it has more than double the calories per gram than a protein or a carb.
Right.
But if you can get like a fatty fish, then you're going to get, protein and fat. Wonderful. And the carbs, you're just going to burn right through.
Right.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense. And as my followers know, I'm following more of a carnivore diet, and will, with that, I'm eating about 70% fat. The
Yeah.
protein, I believe, is more for, building blocks and restoring and regrowing, as opposed to, using for energy. As you said, it's a very inefficient form of energy.
Right. It's
So,
inefficient. It works, but it's
yeah.
inefficient.
Yeah. And so then, as far as like the second part would be like how anaerobic and aerobic metabolism works, basically, right?
Yeah.
When doing endurance athletes, when doing endurance activities such as
Right.
backpacking, because this is where like my biggest, like I couldn't get it in my head. Like, how am I able to hike for 10 hours off
Right.
of, protein and fat, primarily fat, right?
Yeah.
And how is that all that converting when I'm going up a really steep hill and I might go anaerobic for a little bit, or, just on the long slog where I'm just, I'm at a low aerobic level.
Yeah.
So
Low heart
if
rate
you
and you're
could,
cruising along.
yeah. So if you could kind
Mhm.
of give us, the your answer to that without
Yeah.
going crazy for, for my little brain in here.
Okay. So I'll try and make this really simple. So
Mhm.
there's only
Thank
two
you.
ways of metabolizing, fuel and creating ATP. You're either doing it aerobically, which means with oxygen, or you're
Yep.
doing it anaerobically, which means without oxygen. Okay. And the way our metabolism works is when you're in an aerobic state, which is when your heart rate is low enough that you're getting
Mhm.
fully oxygenated to
Mhm.
your muscles, you can convert fats into usable energy. And it's super efficient. I can't remember the exact numbers, but for like
Mhm.
every molecule of fat, you can get like 38 ATP molecules.
Okay.
When your heart rate increases to where you're anaerobic. So now you're not getting enough oxygen to fully oxygenate all your cells and get them through your blood.
Mhm.
The only way your cells can make ATP when it doesn't have oxygen available when you're anaerobic is by using sugars. It's the
Mm.
only way. It's not possible. The chemical reaction does not work if
Mhm.
it does not work with fats unless you have oxygen. So the only way to make ATP without
Mhm.
oxygen is to use your sugars. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yep. So can I
Okay.
ask you, and you'll probably dive into this. So is that where our glycogen stores are being utilized?
That's
Because
when we
when I'm
start
not eating,
using,
yeah,
yep.
yeah, I'm not
That's when we
eating any
start using our
carbohydrates.
glycogen.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
overnight, when you eat a meal, whatever meal it is,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what your macros are. Your body's going to convert and store up energy wherever it can, and
Okay.
it's gonna try to top off its glycogen stores as soon as possible. And your
Mhm.
glycogen stored in your liver and in your muscles. That's
Mhm.
like your main places to store glycogen, which then gets
Mhm.
pulled right into the cell, converts to glucose and ATP.
Okay.
So any human being,
Mhm.
no matter how fat or skinny you are, can only
Mhm.
store about 2 hours worth of glycogen. So
Mhm.
you have about 2 hours, give or take, but you have about
Yep.
2 hours worth of quick energy
Mhm.
that you can use to create ATP anaerobically.
Okay.
Which means another way of saying this quick energy is you can run hard for 2 hours straight, being fully anaerobic without oxygen,
Mhm.
and you'll burn through your glycogen and you'll just be gassed. That's when we
Yep.
bonk, hit the
Right.
wall,
Right.
right? Low blood sugar. That's when
Mhm.
your glycogen stores are depleted. You start getting
Mhm.
lightheaded and dizzy and feel faint. That's your blood
Mhm.
sugar dropping because you're out of glycogen. It's pulled it out of your liver. It's pulled it out of your muscles. You're out because any human being only has about 2 hours worth of glycogen. And we
Okay.
have that to basically run away from the saber-toothed tiger or some attacking tribe. That's
Right.
with this quick burst of energy that doesn't require oxygen, because when you're running for your life, you don't have oxygen, you're just getting out of there. That's where your glycogen's coming from. And again, it's like for every glucose molecule, you get like 2 ATP molecules. Okay, it's like it's very small. Okay, when you're aerobic, when you have oxygen available, then you can pull from your fat, and you can convert your fat into ATP. And like I said, for every fat molecule using oxygen, this cannot be done without oxygen. When you're using oxygen, you get like 38 ATP molecules. Like it's crazy how much more efficient fat is as a fuel than carbohydrates.
So if we're like kind of converting whatever into a backpack, a day of backpacking, right? Because a day of backpacking is predominantly going to be aerobic, and then we might go up a super steep section and go anaerobic for a few seconds, maybe a minute, and then back to the grind. And like for me, I seem to go I seem to go anaerobic frequent and often, but not 2 hours worth. I mean, it's, in bits and spurts. So from the standpoint of aerobic versus anaerobic is going to be a very small portion of what's going on.
Right.
And that's going to be relying on our glycogen stores, which is telling me that the night before, we need to make sure we refill anything that we might have depleted during the day.
Yeah, you just want to eat a good, well-balanced meal or a good amount of calories, and your body overnight will put it where it needs to, and it should be filling up your glycogen stores again.
Right, because I guess from my standpoint that is kind of a diminishing return, right? If you come into camp and you don't refresh and restore things, then the next day you're a little behind. The next day you're a little behind, and it's going to start on your energy, waning your energy levels. Is that kind of how we're looking at it?
Yeah. Yep. And you'll be dropping into that low glycogen, bonking, hitting the wall. And actually, you're from New Hampshire. I was on a backpacking trip up doing the Presidential Range Traverse many years ago, and I bonked 3 days in a row. This is before I figured all this stuff out. 3 days in a row. I was like, in the last day, the third day in a row that this happened, I literally just was like, I was so done, like gassed out, that I just sat down in the middle of the trail, and I was like, I'm done. And then my body, I literally had like explosive diarrhea, like on the trail, which is not a fun thing to do. But my body was so depleted of glycogen, my blood sugar was so low, like I was gonna pass out, and my body just expelled whatever it had. Oh, I was not in a good way, and you do not want to be, bonking or hitting the wall on trail.
No, and especially not in the Whites, because there's there's no easy way out of the White Mountains.
No.
I was just recently up on Eisenhower, the trail we went on cuts into where the AT or Presidential Range, Presidential Traverse is. So that's unforgiving land. So that's a tough situation.
That was actually the trip that inspired me to really learn about all this stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, and it makes sense. So let's kind of, because like I said, my audience is, a lot of people have been following me from the carnivore standpoint, but I also want to talk from the whole range, from carnivore, ketovore, keto, low carb, South Beach, whatever, standard American diet somewhere in there, right?
Right.
So how do the different diets, the different type of diets, affect your metabolism, especially when it comes to backpacking?
Well, so what I'm going to say here is everyone's got to figure out what works for them. And I've eaten so many different ways over the decades, and I've tried, lots of different styles of eating, and not just like, short term, like, for months or whatever at a time, to really give it a chance. And what I have found is everybody's got to figure out what works for them. And once they find something that works, that might change in 6 months or a year or 2 years. I don't know, you know. But what I can say about how your body uses fuel, it's not just about what you eat. It's to me, what I've learned over the years is it's actually more important how you train.
Okay.
So you can teach your body to be a fat burning machine by doing low intensity cardio. So fully aerobic cardio for 12 weeks straight. Do like at least 45 minutes of low intensity cardio 3 times a week or more for 12 weeks straight. And you will teach your body to be a fat burning machine. Or what most people do nowadays is they choose some diet, keto, carnivore, whatever, and they try to force their body to burn fat because they deprive it of carbohydrates. That's the whole keto, Atkins, paleo, carnivore, that whole thing. Okay? So I see a lot of people force their body into burning fat as its primary fuel, or you can train your body with this low intensity exercise to be a fat burning machine. Okay. So however you need to do it, it doesn't bother me. Whatever works for your lifestyle is good, you know. But fat burning is far more efficient than sugar burning. And like I said, you have 2 hours worth of sugar in your body. But any human being, even the skinniest person, has basically 3 weeks worth of fat to fuel their body, like without eating at all.
Those are the skinny people. Yeah.
Even the skinny people, you can watch past episodes of Survivor, and it's just how their metabolism is working.
Yeah.
So
and that's you know, like 3,500 calories per pound of fat, right? You know, in order to burn a pound of fat. So if you have 5 pounds of fat, that's, you know, 15,000 or 15,000.
Just run the numbers.
Calories just waiting there to burn. Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I have this discussion with several of my friends. You know, a lot of them are thinner and a lot of them are heavier. And what I've come to the realization is, you know, our bodies are designed in a way where we can burn fat, burn protein, burn carbs. We can burn it all. And what I'm finding, or what in my study, is there's like a spectrum of people. And what I mean by that is, like, my wife, she's always been thin, and she can eat a lot more carbohydrates than I can as far as tolerance. Whereas there are other people who look at a carbohydrate and start to gain weight. I'm kind of, you know, I'm kind of in that spectrum. I'm not saying that one is right, one is wrong. It's just that's where people are differing. You know, they talk about fast metabolism, slow. And I think it's more, you know, how much your tolerance to carbs are, because in the last, you know, 20, 30 years, people have been decreasing the amount of carbs, right? I look at it from my standpoint where I've been addicted to carbohydrates. I mean, that's a whole episode, another story, where you know, and I tell people how I drank Diet Coke and I ate 3 donuts for breakfast for months. And it's like, okay, well, that's not right for anybody, you know. That's not balanced, that's not anything, right? But that was the addiction that I was following. So that's kind of a story for another day. But I feel like there's that tolerance. And for me, I've come to the realization that a little bit of carbohydrate may be good, but if I start to go down that road where I'm eating too many carbohydrates, then I have troubles, you know?
And this is what we're saying. Like, everybody's got to find the right balance for them. And I don't think it's just about the macros at that point. I think it can get into the gut biome. I think it could get, maybe it has something to do with blood type. You know, I've played around with blood type diets and stuff. You know, your energy or your activity level, it just, there's, I think a lot of other things do you have a parasite that you don't know about, like a tapeworm or something? Like,
I
I don't
must.
know. Yeah, right.
I
Like, I don't
must.
know,
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, figure out what works for you and
Mhm.
dial that in and
Right.
see how you feel. Are you feeling
Yep.
good? Are you feeling energized? Are you able to accomplish the goals that you want? And then when
Yeah.
it comes to the AT and backpacking and hiking, what works for you? Like, I can
Mhm.
tell, like, for me, the longer I'm working out, the
Mhm.
more sweet sensitive I get. So, like, if I'm on the
Okay.
bike for 6 hours, I don't
Mhm.
want anything sweet. It's just like unpalatable for me. But in the first hour or two, like, oh, if it has a little sweetness, that's okay. It's
Yep.
yummy. But 6 hours,
Right.
10 hours in, or if I'm doing, like, I've done the 40-mile Maryland AT, like, in a single
Yep.
push, many times. 10 hours in, I don't want anything sweet. I want
Mhm.
salty and water, and, like, I don't even really want many
Right.
calories at that point.
Mhm.
So it just depends on the person and what they're used to,
Yep.
and how you've trained. Have you
Right.
been trained
Right.
with these certain fuels? Does that
Mhm.
work for you? Does it not? How does it work on your whole GI? Are you
Mhm.
burping up a
Right.
lot? Are you the other end? And that's where
Right.
all of those shakedown hikes and all that stuff
Yep.
becomes
Yep.
so critical, and prep for,
Yeah.
like, a hike.
Yeah. Right. And that's really what I'm learning from my shakedown hikes is I'm learning that if I eat beef jerky, which is low, beef jerky is low in fat, but I'll have beef jerky, I'll have a lot of cheese, and then I'll
Mhm,
have, I think you had mentioned like summer sausage on our previous discussion, where
mhm.
I just eat a lot of fat, and I'm able to hike pretty easily for a long period of time with that. Um, but
Yeah,
in
it's
the
keeping your
past,
blood sugars up just enough because you've got food in your system,
and you just
but you're mostly
yeah,
pulling from your stores, not from the stomach directly,
right.
because it's got to all get absorbed and then converted and whatnot. But
Mhm.
but again, those carbs, you get them
Right,
into your system, you start to digest them in your mouth, they get right into your
mhm,
bloodstream and to your
right,
muscles, and that's why the carbs. I mean, you don't see any
mhm.
marathon runners or triathletes, snacking on beef jerky during an event. I mean, there's a
No,
reason, because they're
no,
looking for, and they're not snacking on cheese either,
right, right,
or peanut butter,
yeah,
because their heart rates they're pushing the high end of their aerobic
yep,
zone, but
yep,
they're going for so long that,
mhm,
any little fuel that they need is going to be mostly a carbohydrate. So what I'm
yeah,
curious about your journey
mhm,
is, will there become a point on the AT
right,
that you become far more insulin sensitive, which is a
yep,
good thing,
yep, right,
where the carnivore diet no longer works for you, and
mm,
you start to
interesting,
need to eat more carbohydrates
mhm, right,
in order to feel good for your full day of hiking, day after day after day.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know, but that's another reason
right,
why I first commented on your video, because I'm like,
mhm,
"Oh, this is really interesting.
right, right,
I'm curious
yeah,
about this. I don't know how it's going to
yeah,
go." Dave's
right.
willing to do the experiment. Thanks,
Dave's
Dave.
good. Yep, crash test dummy. And
Yeah.
that brings up a good point because I am, on my channel, I'm talking a lot about the carnivore diet, and that's
Mhm.
where, like I had originally said in our conversation, I think it was before this, where my first initial intent for carnivore was to get rid of my cravings, get rid of my addictions, and lose weight and start to become healthy, meaning my body's cleaning out and whatnot.
And
And
becoming more
then
metabolically healthy.
yes, exactly, metabolically healthy. And then I started talking, well, maybe I can hike the AT on it. And you're right, because I've done a lot of endurance races and whatnot, but they've never been more than 48 hours. I've never gone on a hike every single day. And so I'm
Day after
curious
day
as
after
well,
day. Yeah.
what's going to happen after I've been on the AT for a month. And a lot of
Mhm.
people are saying, this is impractical to do carnivore. And It may be because, I mean, stores don't have nice, packaged, steak that I can take on the trail for 4 days,
Right.
right? Because of bacteria and whatnot. But I am planning on getting, enough protein and fat to,
Hmm.
where I need it.
Yeah.
But it is a curious situation where
Yeah.
I've never done it before. I'm hoping to stay as carnivore as I can, if not, ketovore or, keto, where I'm adding in some of the other foods
Yeah.
over time. But I'm
Yeah.
I'm very curious myself how that
Yeah.
will be without being, like, I don't want to be that arrogant guy who says, I'm going to do carnivore. Well, if it kills me, it's like, no, we can't live our life that way. If
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
but I also know that I've been training this way. I've been eating this way for 125 plus days. That was my recent post.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm like you said, I'm training in this manner, and I'm
Hmm.
training to get there, and we'll see what happens, because
Yeah.
I am the crash test dummy, at
Yeah, I
least
mean, thanks for being
my
the
own
guinea
standpoint.
pig on this. I think it's
Exactly.
fascinating. I really,
Right.
again, that's why I first commented on the first video of yours that I saw, because I
Right.
was like, wow, this sounds really interesting, you know?
Right.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
what is your longest backpacking or hiking day after day trips? So like to date.
I've done a week. I've done a week at,
Okay. Well, that's pretty
yeah,
good. I mean, if you do
Schuster
like
County.
5 to 7
Yeah,
days of hiking in a row,
right, right.
that's
And
pretty
but
significant.
that was years ago. That was years ago.
Oh,
Um,
okay, so
you
you're
know,
starting over then.
yeah, about 6 or 7 years ago, I started hiking with a
Okay.
friend who I'm still hiking with, and I'm getting back into it. And
Okay.
we've
So, but
done,
that's
you
not
know,
like in recent with carnivore and stuff like that.
no, no,
Right.
it's been, a series of everything. But we've done several hundred hikes up in the White Mountains, and they're all day hikes. And that's why, yes, I can get away with, my following my carnivore, because it's just a blip in the day. So yeah,
Right.
getting back to it, I could, who knows what's going to be a month
It'll be
in, and
interesting.
then
It'll
I'll
be
lose all
interesting.
my carnivore followers.
No, because I think you're really providing a valuable, service and experiment.
Yeah,
Like you're willing to do
right,
what others might not be, and if we can learn from you,
right.
that's why I'm following, and that's why
Absolutely.
we're talking, and hopefully now
There
we're
you go.
friends. And I can learn from you because I'm just
Right.
really curious because I've had some really great benefits from
Mhm.
carnivore diet, but I'm also
Mhm.
finding that straight carnivore is not
Mhm.
right for
Right.
me.
Yeah, and my wife, she did it for a month. She's, I don't know, 5'2", 110 pounds or something. So
Hmm.
she did it for a month. She felt good, and now she's back to doing kind of a balanced diet from
Yeah,
protein, fat, and carb standpoint. So
right.
let's see, like, where are people going to find you? Like, what do you have going on? And kind of give all your info so people can find you, because you will be doing your YouTube channel and providing more value to people like me and others. So I'm putting you
I
on
hope
the
so. I
spot.
mean, here's a picture, or that's from like JMT. That's up.
Oh,
That's from
okay.
Forester Pass
Yeah,
on the JMT.
I know,
I've
but
been
I'm
up there
putting you on.
twice.
I'm putting you on the spot about getting your YouTube channel up and running better.
Yeah, so I have a
So
YouTube
there you
channel.
go.
I have like 7 videos, and it's just getting started. But my
Sure.
YouTube channel is Kevin R. Strauss, and basically talking about all things health, wellness, fitness, but not just physical health, but also
Mhm.
emotional, mental, spiritual, which for me has nothing to do with God and religion, but just overall well being and how we can
Mhm.
live our
Yep.
best, easiest, happiest lives. Because that's what I want. I just want everyone to live their happiest, easiest life. Um,
Right.
I mean, a lot of people call me like a life hacker person, because I'm always trying to
There you
figure out
go.
an easier way to do something.
Right.
But then, of course, there's Uchi, which is an app, and it's an app that strengthens relationships, which nurtures your emotional health, which then
Mhm.
drives better behaviors, both improves your destructive behaviors, so it can improve depression and other mental health kinds of challenges, but also improve constructive behaviors like um, work and school and grades and test scores and all those kinds of things. So uchiconnection.com is that website. Uchi is a free app on Google Play and the App Store. And there is a YouTube channel, Uchi Connection, and there'll be a TikTok, uchi.connection. Yep. So all those kinds of things where there'll be more videos about Uchi and relationships and emotional health and behaviors and all those kinds of things. Yep. So those are the, and my website's kevinrstrauss.com. So it's easy to get in touch with me.
Excellent. I totally appreciate the time that we got to spend together. This is.
I hope it was helpful. I hope it's helpful to your audience. And, you know, I just again, I want to help people achieve their goals, really.
Right. No, and it is helpful, and it helped me wrap my head around aerobic and anaerobic once again, because PT school for me was a long time ago, and I haven't really used that aspect of it since doing some training 25, 30 years ago.
Right.
But anyhow,
do you want to do a final test and repeat it back?
Such as?
The difference between aerobic and anaerobic and what kind of fuel you're burning?
I'm going to write it all in the summary. How's that in the description?
I put you on the spot.
I appreciate that. And so we will, I'll get this video out, and I appreciate everybody's time and attention. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. And as always, happy hiking.